أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ولا عاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله. أما بعد. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank the Almighty Allah for giving us another opportunity to be here today. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. We also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam is his servant and his messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided, and anybody who goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Today is a Sunday which corresponds with the 27th day of Rabiul Awwal, 1444 years after the hijrah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which also corresponds with, I believe, 23rd day of October 2022. This is our third episode in our series of Sirah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the first episode, we spoke about who the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and then his rights over us. And amongst the rights are, obeying whatever laws, whatever instructions he gave. And it's very, very important for our identity as Muslims that whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam obeys us to do, we do it to the T. And then we gave an example of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. One day he was entering the masjid. His right leg was in the masjid, and the left leg was outside the masjid. And then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Guys, sit down, sit down, sit down." And then he sat down like that. After some time, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was teaching, and then he saw him, one leg in the masjid, the other leg outside the masjid. And he asked him, Abdullah, why are you sitting like that? There are spaces in the masjid. He said, Ya Rasulullah, my right leg entered the masjid. The left leg was outside the masjid. I was about to bring the left leg into the masjid, and I hear you say, sit down, sit down, sit down. I'm scared. If I lift the left leg and enter into the masjid, and then the angel of death takes my life away, if I go to Qiyamah and the Almighty Allah asks me a question, Abdullah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, sit down. You have walked. He said, I don't have any explanation to give on the day of Qiyamah. So this is how they lived with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the second episode, we spoke about the importance of the Sirah. And part of the importance of the Sirah is that it gives us a unique identity as Muslims. When we study the Sirah, we get that unique identity as who we are as Muslims, because we are different people. There are different ideologies there in the world. There are different isms. There are different policies out there in the world. But when we study the Sirah as Muslims, it teaches us who we are as Muslims, and we're able to live day in, day out, personifying that ideology as Muslims. Earlier today in the madrasa, I was speaking to the older boys and telling them that, guys, you need to maintain a Muslim identity, especially in the spaces that you find yourself in. You live in a fast-moving world. So if you don't get yourself grounded as Muslims, you create negative impressions about yourself. I said the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress, your hairstyles should depict that of a Muslim. Wherever you go, people should feel comfortable that you are there, unless they have their own prejudiced mind. You should create an atmosphere around you that people will not have any option but to respect you. But if you create an atmosphere around you, an appearance that people will have to judge you by that appearance negatively, then you are at fault, not them. Unless those people already have their negative prejudice against you as a person, depending on whatever you're doing or who you are. Today we are going to look at the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I believe it's a very sensitive topic, a controversial topic, but we're going to look at it from the intellectual point of view, where we're going to look at facts and figures and historical facts to back whatever we are going to say. The number one contention is, when was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam born? As I said in the first episode, the Arabs, before the advent of Islam, didn't have a unique system for dating as we have today, that the hijrah today is 1444 years. The Arabs before Islam didn't have that. It's only a South Arabian nation or tribe called Himyar in Yemen. They had a system of dating a little bit, but that itself was not, consistent. It was not static. But mostly the Arabs will use, events, the year of the elephant, the year of death, and stuff like that. Those were the events that they used, to give references to times and happenings in their era. So this resulted in a lot of the Arabs not having some of their histories documented. There is a book by, I've forgotten the name of the scholar, but it's called Al-Mufassal fi Tarikh al-Arabi Qabla al-Islam. A deeper explanation of the history of the Arabs before Islam. And the writer said that they came across some manuscripts concerning Arabs, but they cannot tell when those things happened because those manuscripts didn't have any dates on them for them to be able to say this is when it happened or how old was that incident. The Prophet Muhammad was born on a Monday, and this is a fact because of the hadith of Muslim where Abi Qatada says an Arab Bedouin came into Medina and then he said, Ya Rasulullah, why do you fast on Mondays? And the Prophet Muhammad says, ذَلِكَ يَوْمٌ وِلِدْتُ فِيهِ وَأُنزِلَ عَلَيَّ فِيهِ. That is the day I was born, and that is the day, the first time Jibril came to me. So it's very clear. The hadith of Abi Qatada says the Prophet Muhammad was born on a Monday in Sahih Muslim. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal also narrates a hadith from Ibn Abbas, where Ibn Abbas says, ولد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم الاثنين. The Prophet was born on a Monday. واستنبئ يوم الاثنين. He was made a prophet on Monday. وخرج مهاجرا من مكة إلى المدينة يوم الاثنين. He left Makkah to Medina, hijrah on Monday. وقدم المدينة يوم الاثنين. He entered Medina on a Monday. وتوفي يوم الاثنين. He died on a Monday. This hadith is also found in Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. This is what we have concerning the day that the Prophet Muhammad was born. Even though there are some narrations that are weak that say that the Prophet Muhammad was born on a Friday. Some people say he was born on a Friday, and even though those hadith are weak, we're not going to look at them. But just to let you know that there are some people who had different opinion that he was born on a Monday, but on a Friday. But that hadith is very weak. Now let's come to the month. Majority of Muslim historians say that the Prophet Muhammad was born in this month that we are in, Rabiul Awwal. Majority of them, about 90% of them, say he was born in the month of Rabiul Awwal. But then they didn't agree on a specific date in the month. They didn't agree. Some of them said he was born on the 2nd of Rabiul Awwal. Ibn Abdul Barr narrates this in his Isti'ab, and even Al-Waqidi also speaks about this, that he was born on the 2nd day of Rabiul Awwal. Al-Humaydi and Ibn Hazm say he was born on the 8th of Rabiul Awwal. The hadiths are there. Ibn Dahiyya says he was born on the 10th of Rabiul Awwal. We have a third statement. The fourth statement is he was born on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal. The fifth statement says he was born on the 17th of Rabiul Awwal. The last two statements say he was born on the 21st or the 22nd of Rabiul Awwal. So we have about 5 or 6 statements concerning the exact dates that he was born. Some scholars say he was born in Ramadan. Someone is saying, why are people, having difference of opinion on the birth? And that's also a point of discussion, that why is there differences of opinion on the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We know very well that Eid al-Fitr is on what? On the 1st of Shawwal. It's very clear. No scholar in the history of Islam has disagreed with this. We know that Arafah is on the 9th of Zulhijjah. We know that Eid al-Adha is the 10th of Zulhijjah. We know Ashura and Tasua are 9th and 10th of Muharram. All these days we know them. Why is it that the day that the Prophet Muhammad was born, we have not agreed on a particular date, but these other days? Verily, the birth of the Prophet Muhammad is more important than these days. That's a fact. It's more important than them. But why is it that this most important singular event in the history of Islam has not been recorded for us exactly as it's supposed to be, but then these other days have been recorded for us? I hope you understand the question. And it's a legitimate question for us to ask. That why is it that the day of first day of Shawwal, Eid al-Fitr, we know. Day of Eid al-Adha, we know. Day of Arafah, we know. We even have fasting on the day of Arafah. Ayyam al-Tashriq, we know them. The 3 days after the Eid al-Adha, we know them. Muharram, Ashura and Taswa, we know all these days. But then here is the case whereby we are having a bone of contention, almost about 5-6 different statements concerning the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some said he was born in Ramadan. Why did they say so? They have their opinion. The opinion is that since the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was made a prophet at the age of 40, and the revelation first came in what month? In the month of Ramadan. So if he is 40 in the month of Ramadan, it means he was born in the month of Ramadan. You get the analogy? That's the analogy they used. And even them, they didn't even agree on the day in Ramadan. They had different days. Some said 27th, some said 18th, some said 12th in the month of Ramadan. But that is a weak statement. Even the Rabiul Awwal one, it's also not an authentic statement. Let's get it. When we say that majority of the scholars, of historians say the Prophet Muhammad was born in the month of Rabiul Awwal, it is not as if it's a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad. No. Let's get that. It is not a hadith. It's just that historians did their calculations. The mathematician Al-Khawarizmi, he did some calculations, and then he even said that he was born on the 9th of Rabiul Awwal. Even in the statement, I didn't even bring that, because it was a huge research work that I had to do to bring out all these, dates, so that we learn from them. Now this is the month. Now let's come to the year. The scholars, majority also agreed that he was born in the year of the elephant. Amul Fil. What happened in the year of the elephant? The Yemenis were being governed by the Ethiopians, who were Christians. So they had ambassadors and people who were working for them. One of the kings at that time was called Abraha. And even the name Abraha, I didn't find it in an authentic narration. The narration that mentioned the man's name was a weak one. But we'll make use of it because of lessons, historical lessons. Abraha realized that the Arabs, every year before Islam, they will go to Mecca for Hajj. They will go there for Hajj. Mecca was a strategic place for them. And Abraha was a Christian. He wanted to turn the mind of the Arabs from their pagan worship to Christianity. So to rival Mecca and the Kaaba, he built a huge cathedral in Yemen called Al-Qullais. He named the cathedral Al-Qullais. And then he spent a huge amount of money trying to, draw the Arabs' attention from going to Mecca to come to, his cathedral named Al-Qullais. In every society there are rogues, people who do not obey the laws. One Arab guy was very furious. He went to the church and then he eased himself. He went there and then he eased himself. And then this guy, when he heard that this is what has happened, he said, there is no reason other than the Kaaba. That is why this guy came into my church to ease himself. I'm going to destroy the Kaaba. Some historians said he left with almost 100,000 soldiers. He had elephants in there amongst his troops. Any Arab army that stood in his way was destroyed. He annihilated them. A lot of Arab armies, one king by name Zunamar, gathered some Arabs to stand in his face, but within a day, the whole army was destroyed. Finally, he got to Mecca. And when he got to Mecca, he sent an emissary into Mecca to go and meet the leader of Mecca at that time, who was Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he told his emissary, if the guy wants to negotiate, he wants to have diplomacy with us, bring him to my tent. He's a very sensible person. But if he wants to fight, don't say anything, leave him. We will destroy them in one day because we have a huge army. So when he got to Mecca and he told the people, I'm a messenger from Abraha and we have come for only one thing, that is we're going to destroy the Kaaba. We don't have an issue with you, the human beings in Mecca. Our issue is with that building. So you just give us the space, let's destroy the building and then we'll go. That's it. But your leader can come with me to come and negotiate whatever he wants with our leader. It's no problem. Abraham on his way captured people's animals. So if you have sent your cow or your sheep or your camel for grazing, you will let his soldier capture them. He had captured 200 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib. So when Abdul Muttalib came to him, Abraham from afar, he saw the man and he saw that this is an elderly man who is, who looks very presentable. He didn't want to sit him next to him on his throne because he will make him his equal. Abraham also didn't want to let the man sit down and then he sits up there. He had disrespected the man. So he came down and they all sat on the floor together. And then he said, your name is Abdul Muttalib. You are the leader of Mecca. I only came for one thing. I'm here to destroy that building. And that's it. I don't have an issue with you. You didn't come to my church to go and ease yourself. You didn't insult me. And your people never did. But the guy who did it, he did it because he has respect for this house. So this house is what stimulated him to come and do what he did in my church. So I'm going to destroy the house. Abdul Muttalib said, I don't have a business with that. I don't have any issue with that. If the owner of the house will allow you to destroy the house, that's the business between you and him. I don't care. I only came for you to give me back my 200 camels that you've stolen. That's all. And he was like, I think you're a very reasonable man, a very sensible man. I have come to you to speak about a house that belongs to your parents and your grandparents, the core of your religion. And you are speaking to me about 200 camels. He said, listen, man, you said you don't have an issue with me. I have an issue with the house. The house doesn't belong to me. The house was there long before I was born. What I have consent for are my 200 camels. That's my business. That's my property. You give me my property, I will go. If the owner of the house allows you to destroy the house, that's his problem. It's okay, no problem. Guys, give him his 200 camels. They gave him his camels. When he got to Mecca, he told the people, Ya Ma'ashara Quraysh, listen, the guy who has come, he's crazy. Leave Mecca. Go outside. Go outskirts of Mecca. And let's leave him. If the Lord of the Kaaba will allow him to destroy the house, that's the business of the Lord of the Kaaba. Even if he allows him to destroy the house, when they leave, we will rebuild the house. But we don't have to lose a single person. So they left. And Abraha came with his soldiers. And Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Ya Rasulullah, did you witness what your Lord did to the people of the elephant? Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Didn't he destroy their plans? The plans that they came with, didn't he destroy them? In the end, what the Almighty did was that he sent birds. And each bird was having 3 stones, one in the beak and one in each claw. And these stones were from Jahannam. If they drop one stone on the person's head, it enters into the brain and then it melts everything down. Goes through the system, melts everything down, and then it comes up from the outside. And that's it. That's how the Almighty Allah destroyed these people. So this is the story of the elephants. So most historians say that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in the same year that this incident happened. But yet again, they disagreed. What time of the year? Some people said he was born a month before this incident. No, or a month after this incident. That 30 days after the destruction of Abraha and his people, the Prophet Muhammad was born. Some historians say no, 40 days. Some historians said 50 days. Some other historians said 55 days. But there was a strange something that I came across. Some of them are saying 30 days, 40 days, 50 days afterwards. Someone said the Prophet was born 10 years before that. Ibn Abza narrates that the Prophet was born 10 years before this incident. It means that the Prophet was a witness of that incident. But why would Almighty Allah say, Alam Tara? Did you witness? And part of the mu'jiza of the Quran was that the Prophet Muhammad described Amul Fil, what happened to the army of the elephants in the Quran, in a way that the Arabs were shocked, because they were shocked that you were not there, we were there, we were born there, you were not born. Someone said the Prophet Muhammad this is Shu'aib ibn Shu'aib and Abi and Jaddi, he says the Prophet Muhammad was born 23 years before that incident. Someone said 30 years before that incident. Abu Zakaria al-Ajlani says he was born 40 years after that incident. Brothers, the scholars are asking a question. Why is it that we don't have the exact day of the Prophet Muhammad's birth? They give one simple answer, that the Almighty Allah didn't require from us any form of worship on that day. And that's it. The Almighty Allah didn't require from us any form of worship on that day. Because if he had required from us any form of worship, same way he wanted us on the day of Eid al-Fitr, same he wanted us on the day of Arafah, same he wanted from us on the day of Eid al-Adha, same on Ashura and Tasua, the Almighty Allah would have stated that on this day that the Prophet Muhammad was born, on the date of so and so and so, I need you guys to do 12 rakats, or I need you to fast on that day, or I need you to do this on that day. The only form of worship we have is that he was born on a Monday and then he fasts on a Monday, and that's it. Now the question arises, what then is the position of celebrating of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If these scholars are saying that the Almighty Allah didn't require from us any form of worship on that day, but then we now have celebration of birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a global thing. In some Muslim countries, if you go, it is a holiday and people celebrate it. We have two groups of people here. There are some who allow for the celebration of birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they even give evidences from the Quran and Sunnah to back it. And in the group, some have even gone to the extreme to say that if you don't celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are not a Muslim. Some people have gone to that extreme, that if you don't celebrate the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are a kafir. And then we have the other group that says no to the celebration of the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in that same group too, some people have gone to the extremes to say if you celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are a kafir. These two groups at least agree on one thing. They agree that he, the Prophet himself, did not celebrate his birthday. They agree. Both groups agree. Because those people who say the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is okay to celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say it's a bid'ah. And those who do not celebrate say it's a bid'ah. But the people who celebrate say it's bid'atun hasana. It's a good bid'ah. It's a good bid'ah. It's a good bid'ah. And those who do not celebrate say there's nothing like good or bad bid'ah. since the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say kullu bid'atin dalala, every bid'ah is waywardness, then there's nothing like good bid'ah. The next question is, if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam historically didn't celebrate his birthday, who did first? Who started it? It's a question we must ask. If both groups agree that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not celebrate his birthday, then who started it? Was it Abu Bakr? Was it Umar? Was it Uthman? Was it Ali? Was it Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal? Was it Imam al-Tabari? Who started it? History has given us these answers, that the first people to start the celebration of the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were the people called Al-Ubaidiyun Al-Fatimiyun. Al-Ubaidiyun. And these Ubaidiyun were Shia. And then they were a very extreme Shia group. Al-Fatimiyun. They say they are the direct descendants of Fatima, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But actually, their grandfather was a Persian, and Fatima is an Arab. So I don't know how, I don't know how the Persian became the grandson of the Arab. Maybe the Fulani and the Mandigo people here can help me. These are Al-Ubaidiyun in the 4th century Hijrah. So the earliest date that we have of the celebration of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the 4th century Hijrah, 400 years after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had died. It started in Egypt. It was done by the Fatimiyin, Al-Ubaidiyyin. And these people, they created 6 different Mawlid. The Mawlid of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Mawlid of Ali, the Mawlid of Fatima, the Mawlid of Hassan, the Mawlid of Hussein, and then the Mawlid of the Khalifa at that time, maybe Joe Biden at that time. 6 Mawlids. They were doing this in the 4th century up to about the 5th century, when one of their own kings called Al-Fadl Al-Afdal ibn Amir al-Jaysh, when he took over, he stopped all these Mawlids. After he died, people almost forgot about the Mawlid, but after he died, one of the Khalifa called Al-Amir bi Ahkamillah in the 6th century revived it. So this is from the Shia point of view. They started it. And you can find this information in Al-Ibda fi Madar al-Ibtida' li Shaykh Ali Mahfouz, page 231. He spoke about this. That 3 centuries later, or 2 centuries later, in the 7th century, that is when the Sunnis started celebrating Mawlid. The Sunni world didn't know. When I say the Sunni world, let's be very clear here. We have Sunnah and then we have Shia. Anybody who believes that after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the direct Khalifa is Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali, is Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Even though in there we have some small groupings of people who, let's understand that. And then those who say that after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person who's supposed to be Khalifa is Ali. Those who came before him, they did some, tricks and then they took it away from him. He's Shia. Let's understand that. So for the Sunni world, the first person to start that was Al-Muzaffar Abu Sa'id Al-Kawkabari in Erbil. Erbil is in present-day Iraq. And the city is close to 7,000 years old. Up to now, the city is still there. Erbil in Iraq. It is the capital of the Kurds. In the Iraq where you had the Arabs, the Kurds and stuff, yes. So it's in Kurdistan and it's still there today. I checked, I did research on them when I was preparing this, and the city has about 1.5 million people as of 2020. So the city is still there. So the king of that city, he saw the Christians in the city celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December. Some said no, He himself, he even copied it from a Sufi man called Umar ibn Mullah. He copied from him. The Sufi guy is in his Zawiya somewhere, and then he's celebrating the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then this king saw it and he said, "Oh, this is beautiful. I must copy it." Some said, "No, he saw the Christians celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ, and then he was like, since you guys celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ, we are better placed to celebrate the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." So they started it, and it's crazy what these people do. Scholars have different opinion concerning this man, whether he's a good man or he's a bad man. That is not the point of discussion. The point of discussion is these are the two people that started this Maulid, one from the Shia world and the other from the Sunnah world. They said history records that on the day of the Maulid, they will slaughter 2,000 sheep, 5,000 chicken, and 120,000 bowls of sweets. That is to celebrate the Maulid. And then they start from Zuhur till Fajr. And the king is part of the people who will dance. This king is champion. He's part of the people who will dance. He will dance and dance and dance. He's celebrating the Maulid of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, this Ubaydiyin, the ones who started it, let's talk a little bit about them. Who are they? Because I believe if you're doing something that someone precedes you in doing it, someone who did it before you did, you should know who that person is. You can't just get up and copy anything from anybody. You should know who did it, who started it. Imam Suyuti, he lived in the 10th century Hijrah. He died 911 in Egypt. He has a book that we call Tarikh al-Khulafa, the history of the leaders of Islam across the generations up to him. And then he says in his book, page 9 to 11, he said, لم أرد أحدا من الخلفاء العبيديين لأن إمامتهم غير صحيحة. He said, I didn't bring any of the leaders of the Ubaydiyin in my book. He said he is collating Muslim leaders. He said, I didn't bring any of them in the book because of these reasons. The first one is أنهم غير قريشيين, because they were not from the Quraysh. Secondly, they call themselves Fatimiyin, but they are not Fatimiyin because their grandfather is a Persian. He's a Majus. Amongst the things he said, أن أكثرهم زنادقة. A majority of them are heretics. خارجون عن الإسلام. They are not Muslims. ومنهم من أظهر سب الأنبياء. Amongst their leaders are people who insult prophets. ومنهم من أباح الخمر. Amongst them are people who said alcohol is halal. ومنهم من أمر بالسجود له. Amongst them there was someone who says people can do sujud to him. He said, وَالْخَيْرُ مِنْهُمْ. The best of them, رَافِضِيٌّ خَبِيثٌ. He's a very wicked Shia. يَأْمُرُ بِسَبِّ الصَّحَابَةِ. He orders for the insult of the Sahaba. And he said, مِثْلَ هَؤُلَاء لَا تَنْعَقِدُ لَهُمُ الْبَيْعَةِ. These kind of people, there's no need for us to make them our leaders. وَلَا تَصِحُّ لَهُمْ إِمَامًا. Even if they become leaders, they are illegitimate leaders. فَلِهَذِهِ الْأُمُورِ لَمْ أَذْكُرُ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْعُبَيْدِيِّينَ وَلَا غَيْرَهُمْ مِنَ الْخَوَارِجِ. Because of this and other reasons, the reasons he brought almost 2 pages, that he's not going to bring them in his book. But these are the people who started Maulid. But do you know the funny thing? Suyuti himself, who says these people who started the Maulid are heretics, he himself celebrates Maulid. He celebrates. And then he wrote a 21-page treatise on the celebration of the Maulid. He calls it Husnul Maqsid fi Amal al-Maulid. But mind you, Suyuti is a canon when it comes to Islam. In terms of knowledge, he's a canon. So when we say this, we're not saying it to belittle or to undermine Suyuti. No, Jalaluddin Suyuti is one of the most prolific writers when it comes to Islam. And as scholars, we will always have our good side and we'll have our shortcomings. And we're not going to look at the reasons that these people bring, that this is Maulid and this is okay and this is not, because it's going to be another long discussion. But then the summary of it is that the Prophet Muhammad didn't celebrate the Maulid, the Sahaba didn't celebrate the Maulid, the first generations didn't do, the second, the third. It was only in the 4th century Hijrah that the celebration of the Maulid started, and it was started by the Ubaydiyin al-Fatimiyin. These were the people who started the celebration of the Maulid. And later, the king of Al-Irbil also took over, and then they had all kinds of things. They have their evidences, but then it's going to be back and forth looking at the evidence. But the main thing is that it's a difference of opinion between scholars whether we have good bid'ah or we have bad bid'ah. Whether we have good bid'ah or all bid'ah is wrong. 99% of scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah stand on the fact that there is nothing like good bid'ah. We have a few, like Suyuti. We have Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani also speaks about Maulid, and that Maulid is something good. You have Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani who says that, and Ibn Hajar is the one who has done a commentary on Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the best commentaries you'll ever have on Sahih al-Bukhari. And Ibn Hajar himself is a canon when it comes to the knowledge of hadith. He is one scholar. When we mention his name in hadith, we respect him. He died in 852 Hijrah, almost 600 years ago when he died. Ibn Hajar also has a fatwa on Maulid that it is okay to celebrate Maulid. And then Izzuddin ibn Abdus Salam, who died in the 7th century Hijrah, almost 800 years from now, he said we have 5 types of bid'ah. You have bid'ah that is wajib, we have bid'ah that is mandub, we have bid'ah that is mubah, we have bid'ah that is makruh, we have bid'ah that is haram. And scholars have, rebutted that and then threw that into the garbage. So it's not something, even though Izzuddin ibn Abdul Salam is also a canon when it comes to Ahlul Sunnah. The reason why I'm saying this is that for you to understand that the people who celebrate bid'ah, most of their evidence are all illusions. It's illusions. They just create things. For example, one of the evidence is that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he grew older, maybe in his 50s, after becoming a prophet, he slaughtered a ram to rename himself. This hadith is one of the biggest fabrications in the history of Islam. The person who even fabricated the hadith himself doesn't even know himself. So it's not something that we're going to look at. Sometimes they bring verses of the Quran. For example, there's this verse, I think it's Surah Yunus, قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا وَخَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. That for the mercy of the Almighty Allah, and then His rahmah, and then His mercy upon us, you should be happy. And then the mercy of the Almighty Allah is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you should be happy. Be happy is you celebrate Maulid. The simple response to this is that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who the verse was revealed to, did he understand it that way? He didn't. And that's it. He didn't understand the verse that way that you have understood it. So today, we've looked at the birth or the history surrounding the date. And because we're in the month of Rabiul Awwal, that's why I took my time for us to go through this. Inshallah, next week we'll look at the birth itself. The birth itself. How did it happen? Some say the Prophet Muhammad, when he was born, he was already circumcised. Is it true? Is there any narration supporting that? Some people said when he was born, the fire that the Persians used to worship went off, and then some curtains were cut off, and then some walls fell down, and some will look at that. Is it an authentic narration? And then when he was born, what happened? What was he named? How was he named? And then his breastfeeding and stuff like that. We'll look at it. So we'll pick lessons from it and see how best we can be better Muslims. So today's lesson is, when was the Prophet Muhammad born? We've seen about almost 10 to 15 different opinions concerning where he was born. And then, the main point in that is that the Almighty Allah didn't request from us any form of worship on that day. If the Almighty Allah had wanted us to have a specific point of worship on that day, that day will have been singled out. We'll have hadith speaking about it. We'll have practices from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam supporting that. If you want to obey the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fast on every Mondays and Thursdays as he did, you will not find yourself in any controversy. But if you want to do some extra curriculum activities, then you will find yourself in situations and conditions. Our brothers who celebrate Maulid, every year they have new evidence. Every year, new evidence will come out. Every year, new evidence will come. Every year. One of the evidences that they had this year was that Abu Lahab, Tabatiyada Abu Lahab, Abu Lahab, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet was born, he was so happy that the lady who brought the news to him, he freed her. She was a slave. And that because of that, in Jahannam, his punishment is being reduced. His punishment is being reduced because of that in Jahannam. May the Almighty Allah safeguard us. It's not easy. Let's even agree that Abu Lahab, it is true. So even the hadith itself, it is someone who dreamt that he saw Abu Lahab and Abu Lahab told him that I'm in Jahannam, but then my punishment is being reduced because of that. Do we take our Sharia from dreams? No. We don't take our Sharia from dreams. That is number one. Number two, the person who was even supposed to dream, they said it's Abbas, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At that time, Abbas was not a Muslim. So now we take our Sharia from non-Muslims? You don't. So the brothers who celebrate Maulid and those of us who do not celebrate Maulid, I just want to make a point before we wrap up, that it shouldn't be a bone of contention that we hold each other's throats as if we want to fight and beat and kill each other. No. The Ummah has grown far away from that. And over the years, those who follow me, especially on social media, I don't speak about Maulid because I believe speaking about it is a waste of time, seriously. But because it's a Syria class, and we need to speak about some of these things because it's a class, that's why I'm speaking about it. Those who know me know that some will be surprised today that, hey, today what has happened? Kishki is speaking about Maulid. The Ummah has grown above that. We need to channel our energies into studying Islam authentically. We don't need to waste our time on issues that are non-starters. Whether you celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or you don't celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is not an issue for us to hold each other's throats and then I don't talk to you, I don't do salam to you, I don't have time for you. No, you are a bid'ah, you are a kafir, you are a so and so because of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why would you do that? Why will the Ummah spend all its energy, especially in this month? You go to social media, we are bashing each other left, right, and center. And most of us who are engaged in those debates, if you tell him to write his name, he can't write his name. His own name, he can't write it. But then he will look at big scholars who say, no, we don't celebrate Maulid, you call them kuffar. You look at big scholars who say they celebrate Maulid, and he calls them kuffar. It's wrong. It's totally wrong for the Ummah to engage in that. That is why I brought names of huge scholars from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah who have had the opinion that it's okay to celebrate Maulid. But that doesn't mean that we are going to take them out of the fold of Ahlul Sunnah and say, these people, no, they are sellouts. They are out. No. You want to say Ibn Hajar is a sellout? Oh, then you have issues. You must go back and study. So it's important the Ummah understands this, that there are some issues that are not canons, that we don't need to waste our time on it, calling each other names, castigating each other, insulting each other. I do not celebrate Maulid. I don't see the essence of celebrating it the way these people do. I don't see it at all. What I do is I fast on Mondays and Thursdays, same way the Prophet Muhammad was asking the hadith of Abi Qatada, why do you fast on Monday? It was the day I was born, and then it was the day that I received the revelation. That's it. Let me be free. The person who says he's going to celebrate Maulid, he's going to gather people, men, women, from the places that we are from, in the places that we are from, you see the things that happen. They dance, men and women. true. They do muharramat there. But we cannot use the muharramat on the Maulid. I didn't even mention the bad things that are being done there. I didn't mention them because that's not a bone of contention. The bone of contention for me is the ideology itself. The ideology itself. So let's be samhan and lutfan with each other. Let's be very calm and soft with each other. Those of us who do not celebrate, let's give our evidences intellectually, devoid of defamation and castigation and aspersions and insults. Those who say they want to do, they should bring their evidence, devoid of insult and castigations, and then that's it. The door is closed. If after receiving the evidence you feel that yes, you still want to do it, on the day of Qiyamah, I don't even want to meet you. I want to meet you only in Jannah. If you find your way there, I don't want to meet you on the plains of Qiyamah where you be asked questions that you see me and say, Sheikh, you give me one blessing so that no, I don't want to meet you there. Let's meet in Jannah. It's important. And people should understand one thing. You cannot police people's activities and acts. In the religion, you can't do that. You cannot police people's acts. Let them do whatever they want to do. The thing is wrong, it is wrong. We will say it. It is wrong, it is wrong. But if people choose to do it, let them do it. Leave them alone. Leave them in peace. Ours is to call people to the right path with intellect and wisdom. And that's it. As how we try to do today. We look at it historically. Who started it, where it was started, and who are those people? And even those people, those on the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, like Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, that Imam Suyuti narrates a fatwa for him that he said Mawlid is a good bid'ah. We respect Suyuti, we respect Ibn Hajar. But this is an intellectual class, and we need to make it clear that, yes, so as you who says you don't celebrate Mawlid like myself, if someone comes and tells you, even Ibn Hajar says that Mawlid is okay, you tell him, yes, we know that. And Ibn Hajar is not the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he will say something that's right, he will say some things that are wrong, and that's the end of the day. It's not evidence. This is what happened in Ghana. The Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah met the national chief Imam of Ghana. In Ghana, we have a national chief Imam, and then there's the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. National chief Imam is a Sufi, and he's done very well in trying to bring everybody into the country together. Even the Christians respect him for that. So they met at a wedding ceremony, and the wedding ceremony took place in a mosque behind the house of the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And the Imam, the national chief Imam, anytime he comes, wherever he's going, he has people behind him who will sing praises, the Madih, they will sing praises and stuff like that. So someone was singing a praise of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the national chief Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah was listening to that, and then he was he was carried away because it was a beautiful poem that was being recited in praise of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some of our brothers, the Sufis, cut that out, that video, and said, even this year, the chief Imam of Ahlul Sunnah is going to celebrate Mawlid. They cut that out, so even the chief Imam was going to celebrate Mawlid. So, and the old man made a very profound statement that up to now, I'm still digesting it. When his attention was called to that, he made a video, he said, people, who is me, Umar? Me, Umar, that's his name, Sheikh Umar. Who is me, Umar? That I will do something and you people would think it is allowed in the deen. You understand the statement? Who am I that what I do is considered okay in the religion? You need to scrutinize whatever I do as your leader. If it is allowed in Islam, Fabiha wa Nima. It is not allowed in Islam, tell me, take your thing. And wallahi, it was a lesson for myself and other students that, wallahi, don't be carried away when people are coming to your circles, people are coming to listen to you. Oh, Sheikh, salamu alaikum. Majority here are older than me. That's a fact. My fathers and uncles are here. But I'm sitting here giving the lecture. Doesn't that mean I'm better than everybody? No. There are people who are sitting here. If they assume this seat, they will do a better job than what we are doing. So it is a notion, it's a call to us students that try as much as possible to live with people in humility. Live with humility. You are a human being. Anybody else is a human being. If you people who come to the masjid say from today onwards will not come to the masjid, who are we going to lead the prayer here? Are we going to lead the jinns, or who are we going to lead the prayer? We're not going to have. We need people around us as students of knowledge. We need people around us. So when people who are older than you, who are more experienced than you, they bring themselves down to your level to serve you. Oh, Sheikh, I'll get this water for you. Oh no, you're holding something, I'll take this for you. It is a sign that we need to respect everybody and hold them in importance. It's very, very important. And excuse me, with all due respect, that is the cancer of present day students of knowledge. That's a cancer for us. That is what? Arrogance. Arrogance. That is the Achilles heel of present day students of knowledge. You go and read one or two books and then he feels everybody else is stupid. He is the wisest person. And that's a problem. So throughout life, let's be humble and let's respect people. It's very, very important. Whether they're of the same age or you're older than them or they're younger than you, it's very, very important to respect people who are above us or who are ahead of us. Abbas, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad was asked, Abbas, you and the Prophet, who is older? Abbas is older. But what did Abbas say? Abbas says, the Prophet is older than me, but I was born first. He said, the Prophet is older than me, but I was born first. That is adab in language, in even speaking. So it's important that, yes, you respect us because of what the Almighty Allah has given us. But we need to respect back. It's important. We need to give back that respect. We need to show, yes, there's... I want to give this example. Because the person is here, I'm not going to give that example. I think we have about 8 more minutes to, if maybe some brothers have some questions, we can answer them if we know. But you cut that off because some fatwa is specific for the place that we are in. And since we are on Facebook, someone might take it wrong.